Hello everyone, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club. Tonight we're going to take a closer look at an expansion for the excellent board game Black Orchestra, entitled Resistance. This expansion provides 6 new conspirators, 7 deputy stands, and 3 modules, along with new cards that add new elements to the original game. These include Red Orchestra module, Horst Kopcow module, and the Kreisau Circle module. Each module can be added together or separately to enhance the original gameplay and provide greater depth for the player. As the original game was released in 2016 by Sterling Games, and this expansion was released in 2025 by Tabletop Tycoon, I'm already anticipating some color matching problems for the cards and chits. So after we take a look at the components, we're going to compare the new with the old, and if necessary, we'll find some ways to marginalize any issues. So without further ado, let's take a look at the expansion, Resistance. Alright, opening the box, we have a catalog from Tabletop Tycoon. I don't know much about this company, but just looking through the catalog, they do offer some pretty interesting titles. War of Whispers and Nemo's War. All right. Next, we'll take a look at the expansion rulebook, and that is Black Orchestra Resistance. And we starts out with Red Orchestra. The Red Orchestra was a wide-ranging series of often independent resistance groups. Some had ties to the USSR, but many others simply worked to oppose Hitler any way they could. Many shared information and instructions via secret messages transmitted over teleprinters. In this module, your goal is to complete various missions, each bringing you a step closer to ending the Nazi regime, generally making the game easier. Then we have Horst Kopcow. SS Major Horst Kopcow was responsible for German counter-sabotage and counter-espionage during World War II. He and his agents exhibited a special talent for hunting down foreign operatives and uncovering resistance activity. In this module, Kopcow will hound the conspirators alongside the Gestapo agents, conducting a separate investigation that threatens to undo the careful resistance effort, generally making the game more difficult. And finally, we have Kreisau Circle. The Kreisau Circle was a group dedicated to the opposition of Hitler and his policies. They outlined detailed plans for how Germany should proceed to function after Hitler's removal. Your job is to recruit members into this group, paving the way for a post-war future. In this module, you will add allies to the board that can be recruited to your cause, each with a unique one-time effect. Successful plots are more difficult at the beginning when little recruitment has occurred, but easier if the circle of allies has been filled. Alright, the rulebook is a total of 8 pages, including the back. And it looks like they have a section for each of the modules regarding contents and setup. That one is for Red Orchestra. This one for the Horst Kopcow module. And then we have another one for the Kreisau Circle. Looks like there's going to be new cards and chits for each of these expansions. And it looks like there's a new event. And then finally, they give us a little bit of background on some of the conspirators that are included. All right. Next, we've got some counter sheets. And we've got allies, Gestapo raids. These look like they're some type of allies. Teleprinters, perhaps. And then some new actions. That's the first board. Here's the reverse side. Yeah, those are the standard dossier tokens. And like I said earlier, we're going to have to check these to see if there is a color match problem. I'm already anticipating that. Maybe there isn't, but it seems like it would be very difficult to color match something almost 10 years old, but we'll see. Next, we have another sheet. These look like ally board and resistance board, a new action, and something for the Gestapo raids. And Kopcow has his own deputy marker, it looks like. There's the reverse side. And then we have, these are pretty interesting. These are stands for the deputies. And I think that's going to help quite a bit in outlining where the deputies are on the board. I think that's going to be quite nice. Then we have some additional conspirators. And we'll take a look at those after I get those out of the bag. And some new cards. And we're also going to have to check these cards for color matching. And in the event that they don't match close enough, we're going to have to come up with something to minimize that. Okay, let's take a look at these components in more detail. All right, here are the new cards that are included in the expansion. Looks like we've got cards for the original game, and those look like they're ranging from stages 2 through 7. We've got some additional dossier cards, including some illegal cards, and one new plot. All right. And we've got some new cards that were not a part of the original game. Let's see what these are. Got encounters, and these look like teletype. I'll have to find out what those are about, but that is what is included with the cards. Then we've got 7 of these deputy stands, and I'm very excited about these. It's going to not only make the game more thematic on the table, but it's going to point out where the deputies are located on the board, making it a lot easier to see them. So that's a big plus. Now let's take a look at the new conspirators that we get. We get a total of 6 of them. First one is Robert Bernardus. He is Wehrmacht. And his special ability is you can move on spaces 1 stage higher than the current stage. At stage 7, no space is off limits. Well, that's pretty interesting. Next up is Libertas Schultz-Bonson, a civilian, aristocrat and resistance fighter. Her special ability is raise the motivation of a conspirator in your location by 1, or give an item or card to a conspirator in any location. Well, that's pretty good. Next up, we have Mildred Fish Harnack, civilian, academic, and communist. When you draw an event card, you may choose to resolve or ignore its effects, except raids. All right. Next up, we have Marguerite von Owen, civilian, secretary for General Kreisau. Whenever you can raise your motivation, you may decide to lower your suspicion instead. That is very helpful. It gives us a lot of flexibility. Next, we have Erika von Tresco, civilian, typist and wife of General Kreisau. And it says here, when taking the conspire action, ignore all eagles. Very powerful. Next up, we have Helmut James von Moltke. He is with the Abwehr, international law expert. Subtract 1 eagle each time you roll any dice. Very powerful. All right, those are the 6 new conspirators that we have in the game. Very interesting. All right, now we're going to take a comparison with the new components, comparing them with the old. And so far, this looks pretty good. The new card is very similar in artwork and layout. I don't see much difference at all, as a matter of fact. And on the backs, they look pretty good. A little bit of different in the color match here, but in my case, I'm going to be creating a table, and I'll be rolling for my conspirators randomly, so I won't be drawing these from a pile. Let's see how the size matches up. And the size is a perfect match, so we just got a slight color match there. I don't think that's a problem. That definitely can be handled. All right, now we're going to compare the dossier cards. Cards on the left are the originals. Cards on the right are the new versions. There is a slight color match that I can see right off the bat. I think the way to handle this is you simply shuffle the cards together and you draw from the bottom of the deck. This way you won't have any problems with knowing if it's a new or old card. See how they stack up for a shuffle. Feels pretty good. That's the main thing. So if we were to shuffle these together, no problems. So I think that is the way to handle the cards, is we simply draw from the bottom of the deck. Now we're going to examine the stage 2 cards, and these are the originals and the new ones are on the right side. There is a slight difference in the color scheme. It's very hard to see, but I think again the simple method is we simply draw from the bottom of the deck. I don't know if this is resolving on camera, but live by eyesight the new cards are slightly darker than the old ones. And believe me, this is not a cut on the company. It's very difficult to color match something, especially almost 10 years later. You know, inks change and everything else. So I think this is pretty good though, but I think the way to get around it, we simply just draw from the bottom of the deck. And that will, I think, solve a majority of the problems. Now we're comparing the stage 3 cards, the old and the new. Slightly more of a color change there, but not too bad. I mean, I think they did pretty well considering the time in between the original printing and the expansion, so not too bad. We'll take a look at some of the tokens now. I'm mostly worried about the dossier tokens, the item tokens. Okay, here's the color match test for the item tokens. This is the original and this is the expansion. There's quite a bit there. I mean, it would be enough where, unless you had poor lighting on the table, you'd probably be able to pick those out pretty easy. And I think the simple solution for this is, instead of placing the tokens out on the board, I'm going to be placing cubes out there. And this way we will simply remove the cube and draw our item token from a draw bag, and that will solve the problem. So I have no problems with this thus far. Next, I'm going to take a closer look at each of the 3 modules and we'll see what each of those is all about. Now I'm just going to provide you with a basic overview. I've read through the rules for each of the modules, but I probably won't be able to give you all of the details until we actually get this into a playthrough video. But for right now, the Red Orchestra module consists of 4 new conspirator cards, which are simply added into the conspirators decks. We also have 24 mission cards, a resistance board, and 7 teleprompter tokens, 1 permanent and 2 of each of the colors, 5 pamphlet tokens, a hideout token, which evidently denies the SS raids from that location, and a permanent teleprompter. The module also comes with 4 new evidence tokens. These are special items. These won't be picked up from the board, but they will be available by solving one of the missions. During setup, we're going to place 6 new event cards in stages 2 through 7, 1 in each of those stages. During setup, we would handle our normal procedure where 2 cards are discarded from each deck. In addition, stages 2 through 7, we are going to discard 1 additional card because we're adding a card in. So there'll be 3 cards discarded from stages 2 through 7 and 2 cards discarded from stage 1. In essence, how this is going to work is we'll have a new action, and it's called a placement action. And what that allows us to do is to place either a teleprinter or pamphlet token in our location. So we can select any one of these colors, place the token in our location on the board, and then that allows us to activate a mission. We would turn the top card over, and that would be our active mission. In this case, it's evidence intercepted. Hess is carrying sensitive evidence. It must be intercepted. The mission: go to Hess's location. As an action, roll 3 dice. If you roll at least 2 matching symbols, not eagles, you succeed. And the reward is to take an evidence item. That would be one of the ways we can gain one of those evidence items. Then, for every successful mission that we complete, we get to add 1 extra die towards our plots, which is big. Now we can add either tokens, either the teleprompter tokens or the pamphlet tokens, to the space that we're in. And we can do that even if Hitler or a deputy is in that space. However, if Hitler or a deputy enters the location with a teleprinter or a pamphlet, it's immediately removed. And if all of the teleprinters of the same color are not on the board and there is an active mission that has been revealed, that automatically goes to become a mission discarded. So that's how those missions would be removed. So what we would do is we'd be placing multiples of that same color as to try to protect that mission. If we only had 1 mission token out there, or 1 teleprompter out, and it was removed, well, the card associated with that would be discarded. So we'd want to place multiple copies of that teleprinter to try to protect that mission. The pamphlet tokens have no effect unless referred to as a part of the active mission. We'll take a look at a couple of these and see if we can figure out what those would be for. In this case, the mission is go to a fortified location with a deputy present and discard explosives. Another one here is go to Zurich, discard any 3 cards. Go to Gestapo HQ and have low suspicion. Discard 2 items in any fortified location. All right. And then there's a mission here that I found that deals with the pamphlets. It says place pamphlets in Berlin locations equal to the number of players. Reward: all conspirators in Berlin gain +2 motivation. So it looks like this is going to be kind of a very easy to implement module, but it's going to give a big benefit to the player in not only gaining, for successfully completed missions, we would gain extra dice during our plot attempts, but sometimes you get other benefits, and like in motivation, or reveal all items in the current stage and below. So it's quite interesting, the benefits that we can garner from this. The evidence tokens can be used in place of any other item except resistance fighter during plots or delivery, so they're very flexible. The resistance fighter item may be taken at the indicated location without using an action. It may also be dropped at the target location without using an action. So evidently there are some cards in here that will say the mission would be place a resistance fighter in X, something to that effect. So that new placement action is we're going to roll a die, and if we roll an eagle, we would raise our suspicion by 1. Otherwise, we would add a teleprinter or pamphlet to the location. So it seems pretty easy to implement. Looks like a fun module to add to the game. Now for the Horst Kopcow module, we're going to be adding 2 additional cards to stages 2 through 7, and we're going to be discarding a total of 2 cards from stage 1 as we would normally, and then 4 cards from stages 2 through 7. As soon as we enact stage 2, we're going to be placing this counter on the board, and that is a new action, move Horst Kopcow. In addition, Kopcow is going to have his own deputy token, even though he's not considered a deputy, and his own stand. And then we're going to have an investigation board and an investigation deck. In addition, we're going to be adding 4 additional conspirator cards. These cards are denoted with a symbol in the lower left-hand corner. In this case, they have the Horst Kopcow symbol, which is the eagle. The game is going to begin normally, but before drawing the first event card for Stage 2, we're going to place the Horst Kopcow tile at Gestapo HQ. And the turn sequence tile on the game board will be added, and that's this Move Horst Kopcow action. Kopcow is going to block item use in his current space. You're not going to be able to reveal or collect items in his location, nor can you deliver an item or perform any other action associated with that location. You may still enact a plot in his location. Unlike deputies, this effect applies whether you start your turn on the location or not. In most cases, when a deputy is in a space with you and you start your turn, it's going to have some effect on you. But if you move into a space with a deputy, there is no effect. Well, with Kopcow, it's different. His effects will happen whether you're starting in his space or not. At the end of each turn, Kopcow is going to move one space toward the conspirator with the highest suspicion. He'll ignore any in prison. If there's a tie, Kopcow will move towards the closest of the two, and if still tied, we will choose. If after completing his movement, if Kopcow occupies the same location as one or more conspirators, an event card is going to be drawn. So let's take a look at what some of these events are. This one is Suspicious Documents. Officer Kopcow has found some incriminating evidence. Will you be implicated? We have two choices. We can either play it safe, increase our suspicion to extreme, or take a chance. We're going to roll a die, and if we have the eagle symbol, we're going to immediately go to prison. Otherwise, no effect. So it does give us choices with this encounter deck, which is always interesting. Now, this new action that we have, Move Horst Kopcow, is pretty interesting. As an action, we're going to roll a die at a 1, 2, or 3, or a target symbol. We can move Kopcow one space in the direction of our choice. However, if we roll an eagle, we don't move him, and we are going to gain one suspicion. So it's a nice extra element into the game, and it's a way for us to mitigate Major Kopcow's relentlessness. And finally, we'll take a look at the Kreisau Circle expansion. It's going to come with 6 event cards, 1 for each stage between 2 and 7. Same procedure will happen. We're going to be discarding an extra card from stages 2 through 7. So 3 cards will be discarded from those stages. We're also going to shuffle in a total of 24 new tiles with the base tiles. And we're going to be placing two tiles on each board space. So instead of the game starting with a single tile, it's going to be 2. And once again, I'm going to handle the tile match color problem by just using, I think, colored blocks. And we'll just simply place out 2 colored blocks in each location. When I'm using this expansion, I'll mix these into a bag with the original tokens, and we'll simply draw whenever we reveal an item. It'll work just fine. The expansion also comes with 15 ally tokens, and these are going to be placed out once we locate and recover allies from the board. And these are going to give a fast action ability depending upon who it is. We have Horst von Einzeldial. Draw 3 conspirator cards. Carlo Minderhoff, use 3 actions to conspire with 6 dice instead of 3. And Julius Lerber, lower the suspicion of 2 conspirators, 1 each. So pretty valuable. And what's going to happen is, depending upon the number of allies that we have, there's going to be changes to our plot status. And for us to have no modifications, we're going to have at least 4 of these that we've recovered. Otherwise, there's going to be penalties, like in this case, -1 success. So we're going to have at least 4 of these just to be back to normal. If we get a fifth, we get an extra success. So that's how that's going to work. We're going to be actively searching for these allies on the board. And we have several new actions here. One is uncover. We're going to roll a die, and if we roll a eagle, we're going to raise our suspicion by 1. Otherwise, we're going to reveal both item tiles in our location. Then we have the recruit action. We're going to roll a die when in a location with an ally tile. And if we roll a 1, 2, or 3, we're going to remove the tile and add 1 ally to the recruitment pool. And then in turn, that is going to wipe out some of these negative plot modifiers. The more of them we get, better off we're going to be. So at the beginning of the game, it's going to be a little harder for us because we have not recruited any allies. But as we proceed through the game, it will get a little easier, and eventually we would get a +1 success to a plot. Now, some of the new item tiles are interesting. We've got, in addition to the allies, which we've discussed, we have any item. The any item tile follows all normal rules for item tiles, except it can be used in place of any item required for plot or black square delivery. So that's pretty good. We also have this +1 to motivation or -1 to Hitler's support. It's going to be resolved immediately when taken and then removed from the game. But unfortunately, there are also 3 Gestapo raid tokens, and those would also be resolved immediately when revealed. Any conspirators at extreme suspicion are immediately sent to prison, and then they have to discard their illegal cards. Any conspirators not arrested must raise their suspicion by 1 for each illegal card that they keep in their dossier. Incidentally, the expansion also comes with this Gestapo raid tile that can be placed on the board. On the board, they don't give you any instructions on how to resolve a Gestapo raid, so this is just a nice little extra handy aid for the players. So pretty good. All right, well, we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my thoughts on the production values and quality of the expansions and whatever else. Well, I have to say I'm very pleased with this expansion, and I have to definitely give a thumbs up to Tabletop Tycoon. I think they did a great job on producing this expansion. We discussed the slight color matching problems, but that's to be expected, and I've been in gaming long enough where I already knew that that would likely be a problem. The one thing that I am very pleased with is the card size of the new cards that they are giving us are exact with the original game. I've had expansions that I've purchased 2 or 3 years after a game came out, and the cards are a ½ millimeter larger. Makes it impossible to shuffle them. So I have no problems with the color match problem. I'm simply going to be drawing from the bottom of the deck. It's no problem. As for the quality of the modules, I would say an absolute 10. There's just no way around it. Each of the modules is easy to implement into the base game, and each of them gives a lot of gameplay benefit. I can't see myself playing the game without at least one of them, and that's something I'm going to have to decide on, is when we do another playthrough of Black Orchestra, I'm going to be tempted to put all 3 into the game immediately, and I'm not sure if that is the right way to do it, but they're so good that the gameplay effects that they're going to be adding into the game and the choices that it will be giving the player are just, excellent. So overall, I'm going to give Black Orchestra Resistance a 9.5 out of 10, and I'm only going to deduct a ½ point because of the color match issues, which in my opinion can easily be minimized by just what we had discussed earlier, by using cubes out on the board instead of placing the tokens. It's actually going to be easier for setup because you won't have to worry about accidentally tipping over a counter as you're placing them. So in some cases, this is actually a plus in that regard. And then as for the color of the cards, I'm simply going to be drawing from the bottom of the deck. For storage, I'm going to put the components for each of the modules in a separate bag. The game also comes with some plastic baggies, and I'll be using those to sort all of the components for each of the modules, and then if I choose to play with 1 or 2 or 3, we'll simply add those components into the mix. So thanks so much for tuning in for my preview video of Black Orchestra Resistance. It's a good one, and I purchased this on Amazon. I had free shipping, and the cost was $45. And I'm sure it's still available as we speak. So until next time, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club signing off and wishing everyone a pleasant evening. Good night.